All right, let's get right into it. For the longest time, the workplace was basically designed for one specific type of brain. But what happens when your brain is running a totally different operating system? So today, we're going to look at ADHD in the professional world, not as some kind of deficit, but as a really unique and often powerful way of thinking.
First things first, let's just clear the air on the biggest misconception out there. When someone with ADHD is struggling to meet a deadline, it gets labeled as laziness, or maybe procrastination, a lack of discipline. But the reality? It has nothing to do with character. It's all about neurobiology. We're not talking about a broken person, we're talking about a different kind of brain.
So, if it's a different kind of brain, what does that actually mean? How does it work? Well, that brings us to the core processor of what we're calling the ADHD operating system, the interest-based brain. And here it is. This is the fundamental split in how motivation works. A neurotypical brain can usually get a task done just because it's been told, this is important. But the ADHD brain, it runs on a completely different kind of fuel. It's not powered by importance. It's powered by genuine, gripping interest.
This is what a lot of experts call an interest-based nervous system. I want you to picture a high-performance race car engine. It just will not run on regular low-rate fuel. That stuff, like being told you should do this, it just won't cut it. It needs the premium stuff, the spark of fascination, the thrill of something new, the puzzle of a real challenge, or the adrenaline rush of a looming deadline. And those four things, they're basically the keys that turn the entire engine on. Think of them as the only triggers that can really unlock that intense focus. If a task has interest, novelty, a challenge, or real urgency, the ADHD brain is locked in and ready to go. But if it doesn't, it's almost like the task is invisible, no matter how important everyone says it is. Okay, but what happens when a task has none of those keys, and you still have to do it? Like filing expense reports. Well, that's when the whole system can crash. It can lead to this common glitch, an emotional blue screen of death that stops you from even starting. This quote just nails that feeling, doesn't it? It's not about not wanting to do the work. It's a feeling of complete paralysis. You're just stuck, totally overwhelmed by the sheer mental effort it takes to figure out what that very first tiny step even is. And that feeling, it actually has a name. It's called the wall of awful, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an emotional barrier, not a logical one. And it gets built brick by brick from every past failure, every anxiety about not doing it right, every fear of letting someone down. It's that wall that makes starting a simple task feel absolutely impossible. But here's the thing about this operating system. For every glitch, there's an equally powerful corresponding superpower. And if the wall of awful is the system crash, then hyperfocus, well, hyperfocus is the killer app. And this is so important to understand. The name attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is actually terrible. It's completely misleading. People with ADHD don't have a deficit of attention. They have an absolute abundance of it. The problem isn't a lack of attention. It's regulating where that massive fire hose of attention is pointed at any given moment. And what happens when that fire hose is finally pointed at something that engages that interest-based brain? You get hyper-focus. That's that incredible flow state you hear about, where the rest of the world just melts away. It's a state of concentration so deep that hours can feel like minutes, and a staggering amount of incredible work can get done. And hey, this isn't just a theory. You can see this superpower in action all over the place. Think about an ER doctor in a crisis, a software developer hunting down a critical bug, or an entrepreneur trying to get a startup off the ground. These are all fields that thrive on intense problem-solving under pressure. Exactly the kinds of environments where the ADHD brain's ability to hyperfocus isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a massive advantage. Okay, so we're starting to get a handle on the operating system, right? We know its glitches, and we know its killer app. So how do you actually use it? Well, this next part is basically the user manual. Real, practical strategies for working with the ADHD brain, not fighting against it. First up, we've got a fascinating and weirdly simple strategy called body doubling. It's literally just the act of working with another person in the same room. They don't have to help you, they don't even have to be working on the same thing. Just their presence is the magic ingredient. So why on earth does this work? Well, that other person acts as a kind of gentle external anchor for a brain that can drift away really easily. Their presence creates this little bit of social accountability that helps keep your focus right where it needs to be, on the task at hand.
All right, next up is a really big one. The concept of time itself. A lot of people with ADHD experience something called time blindness, and it's not about being rude or inconsiderate, it's a genuinely weak internal clock. You might think a task is going to take, say, 20 minutes, and you look up and 2 hours have vanished. It makes planning incredibly difficult. So if you can't rely on a faulty internal clock, what do? Simple. You make time external. You have to be able to see it or hear it. Visual timers, constant phone alarms, these tools make time feel real and tangible. And here's a pro tip for you. Adding a 20% buffer zone to all your meetings and deadlines, it is an absolute game changer.
This phrase right here, this is the golden rule for understanding working memory in an ADHD brain. It's not that things are forgotten exactly. It's that if a task or an idea or even an object gets put away, it functionally stops existing in your brain's active workspace. Out of sight, literally out of mind.
So the solution is, you guessed it, to externalize everything. Make your thoughts and your to-do lists visible. An everything notebook can replace that chaotic mess of sticky notes with one single place for everything. And visual tools like Kanban boards, they keep your entire workflow right there in front of your eyes, making sure nothing ever gets lost in the void. Okay, let's pull all this together. All of these strategies, they all point to one central idea. You don't fix ADHD. You learn to work with it. It's all about optimizing your environment so that your unique operating system can run at peak performance. This means creating a space that gives you the right kind of stimulation. Standing desks or fidgets, they give you an outlet for all that physical energy. Things like brown noise or even video game soundtracks can create this steady audio background that helps the brain focus. And working in short, intense sprints with lots of movement breaks, that lines up perfectly with the brain's natural rhythm. And this really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. This is not about trying to fit in. It's not about forcing a square peg into a round hole. Real, true success comes when you stop trying to fit the hole and instead build a structure that is perfectly designed for the unique shape of the brain you actually have. I really want to end on this quote because it just says it all perfectly. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's not a broken brain, it's just a different operating system with its own unique interface and its own set of absolutely killer apps. And that leaves us with a much, much bigger question, doesn't it? Because understanding this one operating system is really just the beginning. So maybe instead of asking how people can change to fit the way we work, we should be asking, how can we change our work to fit all the different brilliant types of minds that we have?